When Valerie and I ended things, it wasn't a loud fight or an explosive argument. It was worse. It was quiet, cold, as if something vital had already died between us. But even more painful than the breakup was everything that came after. It began with the lies. I found out she hadn't been honest about where she was on some weekends. I remember asking her directly, "Where were you last Saturday, Valerie?" "You told me you were with your sister." Her eyes flickered away for a moment before she answered, "I was." "Why are you asking like that?" I kept my voice calm. "Because I called her. She said she hasn't seen you in weeks." Her expression froze, and her eyes widened with a flash of panic. "Oh!" I meant I was with her friend Donna. I must have gotten confused. It was the first red flag, but I wanted to believe her. After all, we had been together for 5 years, engaged for 2. The wedding plans were in full swing. The dates were set, the invitations printed, everything moving forward. You don't just throw all of that away over one suspicious moment. But as the weeks passed, something shifted. Valerie grew distant. Her calls and texts became sporadic, and she seemed unreachable. When I tried to confront her, things exploded. "You're suffocating me, Bradley," she shouted one night. "You're always asking where I am, what I'm doing. Do you think I'm a child?" "No, Valerie," I said, fighting to keep my voice steady. "I think you're my fiancée, and I just want to know why you're acting like this." Instead of answering, she grabbed a bag and walked out. "I need space," was all she said before slamming the door. At first, I waited. I told myself she just needed a few days to clear her head and come back. But days turned into weeks. No texts, no calls, nothing. It was as if I had ceased to exist to her. And by then, I wasn't even angry anymore, just hurt. I couldn't keep pretending things would go back to normal. I canceled the wedding. I made the calls to the venue, the caterer, the florist. Then, with a heavy heart, I let our families and friends know it was over. It felt like more than just ending an engagement. It was like burying the future we had dreamed of together. But deep down, I knew it was the right choice. Then, one evening as I sat flipping through TV channels, my phone rang. It was Valerie's brother, Luke. "Hey, Bradley," he began, his tone hesitant. "How have you been?" I stood frozen, my thoughts a whirlwind of emotions. Did I even want to hear what Monica had to say? Did it matter anymore? But somewhere deep inside me, a twisted curiosity tugged at me, making me pause. Finally, I stepped aside and let her in, my voice colder than I intended. "What happened?" I asked, though part of me dreaded the answer. Monica hesitated, taking a deep breath. Her face held a strange mix of guilt and determination, like she'd been carrying the weight of someone else's secret. "She was with someone else," she said finally, her voice almost apologetic. "She went on a trip with him, someone she met a few months ago at her gym. She wanted to see where things would go with him, to figure out if her feelings for him were real." The words hit me like a freight train. I felt the floor drop beneath me, and for a moment, the world tilted. She went away with someone else. My voice was barely above a whisper, disbelief and rage clashing inside me. Monica pressed on, oblivious to the storm brewing within me. But after a while, she realized she only wanted you. "It was always you, Bradley." She was confused, but now she knows what she wants. She's asking for your forgiveness, and she hopes you'll take her back. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My heart hammered in my chest, and my hands clenched into fists as anger bubbled to the surface. "So, let me get this straight," I said, my voice shaking. "She cheats on me, goes on a trip with some other guy, and now she expects me to just forgive her and act like none of it happened? Are you out of your mind, Monica?" She winced but held her ground. "She's sorry, Bradley. She knows she made a mistake." "I don't care how sorry she is," I snapped, my anger spilling out. "The trust is gone. Shattered. You can't just glue it back together and pretend it's fine. Please leave," I said, my voice sharp and final. Monica looked like she wanted to argue, but when she saw the look in my eyes, she knew it was pointless. Without another word, she turned and left. I slammed the door behind her, my hands shaking. I stood there for a long moment, trying to calm my breathing, but the anger wouldn't subside. It burned hotter, fueled by the betrayal I had just uncovered. A week passed, and I thought things were finally settling down. But then my phone rang. It was my mom. "Bradley," she said, her voice low and serious. Valerie showed up at my door. "What?" I nearly dropped my phone. "She came here crying, saying she just wants to talk to you. She begged me to convince you to give her another chance." "What did you tell her?" I asked, my pulse racing. "I told her you're a grown man who's made his decision," my mom said with a sigh. "But Bradley," she looked desperate. "Are you sure you're doing the right thing?" "Yes, Mom," I said firmly. She crossed too many lines. "Showing up at your house? That's not okay." My mom sighed again, the concern clear in her voice. "I agree, but you need to be careful. She doesn't seem like she's letting this go." It only got worse. A few days later, I came home to find a note taped to my door. "Bradley, I know you're upset, but please, just talk to me. I can't let this end like this. I love you." That was the breaking point. This wasn't love anymore. It was obsession. I was no longer just annoyed. I was scared. I called my best friend Jonathan and asked him to meet me at our usual bar. Over a couple of beers, I told him everything. Valerie's family, the note, and her refusal to let me move on. Jonathan listened intently, nodding. "Dude," he said, his tone serious. "You need to do something. She's not going to stop unless you make it clear this isn't okay. What do you think I should do?" I asked, already dreading the answer. "Honestly, file a restraining order," he said. "It's not what anyone wants to do, but you have to protect yourself." His words sank in, heavy and unavoidable. I hated the idea, but he was right. That night, as I pulled into my apartment parking lot, exhausted from everything, I froze. Valerie was standing outside, waiting for me. She stepped forward as I got out of my car, her eyes pleading. "We need to talk, Bradley," she said, her voice trembling. "I love you, and I can't let you go." The frustration boiled over. "I can't believe this, Valerie," I said, my voice icy. "You've dragged your whole family into this to try to change my mind. Do you think that's going to work? Do you think I'll just forget what you did?" She took another step closer, tears streaming down her face. "Please, Bradley," she whispered. "I made a mistake. I know I hurt you, but I don't know what else to do. I love you. I'll do whatever it takes." I shook my head, my jaw tightening. "You disappeared for weeks, Valerie. You cheated on me, and now you show up at my mom's house, tape notes to my door, and ambush me here? This isn't love, it's madness. I've made my decision. You need to leave me alone." Her eyes widened, desperation flooding her voice. "Please, don't do this. I can't live without you, then live with the consequences of your actions." I shot back, my anger reaching its peak. "If you keep this up, I'll file a restraining order. This isn't healthy anymore." I walked away, leaving her standing there, and the next day, I did exactly what I said I would. When Valerie was served with the paperwork, I braced myself for another dramatic outburst. But instead, everything went silent. No more letters. No more visits. Just quiet. For the first time in what felt like forever, I could breathe. The weight of her chaos lifted, and in the stillness, I found something I hadn't felt in years. Peace. One night, as I sat on the couch drinking a beer with Jonathan, he gave me a knowing look. "You seem different, man. Like, lighter." "Yeah," I said, nodding. "I guess I just realized I don't have to keep carrying this around. Valerie made her choices, and I made mine. I'm finally free to move on." And I did. Slowly but surely, I rebuilt my life. I learned to set boundaries, to protect my peace, and to stand up for what I deserve. Looking back, I don't regret any of it. If anything, it taught me the most valuable lesson of all. I deserve better, and I'll never settle for less again.